What's up guys, NinjaNick333, we're back with another Pokemon League Cup, this time at Flipside Gaming in Clifton Park, New York. We've got myself there on the left wearing the sweet NinjaNick333 merch. As you can see, I'm wearing my other color one here. I don't remember if that's linked in the description box below. I'm gonna have to make sure that it is. The link to the Teespring, or I guess it's called Spring now. But we've got Chris Saikala here on the right. We are playing a Mew Mirror. This tournament was best of one until Top Cut. So we thought Mew was the best play, and apparently everybody thought the same thing. So the League Cup. Oh, actually, you can't even see the shirt that I'm wearing here. There you go. There you go. Wearing my blue one. So we'll just we'll fix that there. But yeah, we are playing a Mew Mirror because we decided that Mew was the best, most consistent deck for best of one. And also, this was during day 2 of Fresno. So we did assume that, or we did know for a fact that a lot of Mew made day 2. I also knew that Mew won the League Cup that was the day before. If you guys didn't watch those are on my channel. Those are the previous uploads. The previous most recent uploads. So pretty much half the tournament the previous day was Gardevoir, and half the tournament this day was Mew. So it's just funny how our great minds seem to think alike. We did not coordinate whatsoever, but like our entire friend group and a couple other people ended up on similar decks, which is just kind of crazy. So Chris fills his entire bench in one turn with a couple Battle VIP passes. Gets that Force Seal Stone down, was able to use that to get that second Battle VIP pass. Plays Path to the Peak as well to try to shut me off from being able to use my abilities. That is a pretty good turn 1 from him. Not much else that you could possibly ask for. He even goes first, so you are heavily favored in the mirror match if you are able to go first. Just because with the quad double turbo build, whoever goes first is the one who gets the first attack on turn 2. So I'm just deciding how I want to thin my hands down. I know that I have to play this Lost City in order to replace the path and draw more cards just to get set up. Chris doesn't have that many cards in hand, but I'm assuming if he played the Path to the Peak, he might just have an out to it anyway. So I might as well play my Lost City. I attach the Choice Belt here as well. I also boss up a Genesect because that forces Chris to... There's like no other good turn 1 supporter except for like Judge. And that would just give Chris more cards anyway. So I figure if I just play the boss's orders and he can't move the Genesect, then that's an easy 2 prizes on the next turn. And if he can move the Genesect, well, at least I forced him to have to move it. So here I go, shuffling too much. Because I'm pretty anal about shuffling for some reason. Put the deck down, Nick. There we go. All right. So I can draw 2 cards with my first Genesect. I think about playing the Lost Vacuum, but I don't want to get rid of the Mew VMAX. I do get a double turbo energy. I'm going to attach that to my bench Mew V as well. And then I can draw 1 more card, or I can play the Lost Vacuum here, getting rid of the Path to the Peak, which is a little bit risky here because I do want to keep as many Path to the Peaks as possible to be able to get rid of Chris's start here. But I choose... I mean, it doesn't really matter what I get rid of, the Forest Seal Stone or the Lost City. So I'm just going to get rid of the Lost City. So I'm down 2 stadiums now, which is a little bit concerning. I do have to burn a lot of cards to get my start going here. I'm not drawing super ideally, so I do bench a 3rd Mew V as well as an Oricorio as all that I get. I do get an Ultra Ball, but I don't feel like discarding Pokemon in order to get another Genesect. I have everything that I want for next turn, which is just a Mew VMAX. So I do retreat into the Oricorio, assuming that he is going to get the knockout. And just pass. So here Chris does have the escape rope. He does have plenty of cards in hand too. So he does move his Genesect back to the bench. He will force one of my Mew Vs up. I do have 3 of them, so might as well. Gonna get rid of my Choice Belt as well with the Lost Vacuum. So knew he had that. So Chris having a pretty strong opening compared to my a lot weaker one. But we're going to see how things change with these extra draws coming out here. So we are going to see an Ultra Ball getting rid of a Judge and another Forest Sealstone. And then playing a Judge as well. So, I mean, I had the Mew VMAX and the Ultra Ball to get the Mew VMAX in hand. So either way, had a Mew VMAX. And now he's going to judge me out of those cards. So all that I need on my next turn is Mew VMAX. So hopefully I do redraw back into it. But this is a very interesting judge for both players, I do have to say. So he's used one Genesect already. You can see that one of those is tapped slightly to the side here. So he is going to draw 4 new cards. I'm going to draw 4 new cards. I do get a Cram-O-Matic, an Escape Rope, a Boss's Orders. I feel pretty confident with my hand. I also have a Judge of my own. So even though I don't have the Mew VMAX yet, I more than likely have it in my next turn. Chris is going to draw up to 6 cards yet again with the second Genesect. He's going to play Power Tablet just to thin his hand. He's going to switch again just to thin his hand. He's really looking for a double turbo energy. He has not seen one yet, and he whiffs. He finds a Nest Ball instead, which he can't play. And I fist pump a little bit because I'm super excited to see that he whiffed the double turbo, because now all that I need is the Mew VMAX, and now I can get the first knockout. So it's almost like I went first, and this is great, especially since I have the Boss's Orders and Escape Rope in hand. There's a couple different ways I can potentially force up a Genesect, but of course if I play the Escape Rope, he's probably just going to put up the other Mew VMAX. So I want to play the Boss's Orders and draw into the Mew VMAX, but I only have 2 Genesect in play, so I only have 2 Genesects to try to draw into these. So I'm going to Escape Rope first, just to thin it out of my hand. Chris is like, yeah, I'm just switching to the other Mew. And I actually move the cards, so I switch to my other Mew. I could play the Judge and then hit into his VMAX, but I feel that it's better to try to boss up his Genesect. In hindsight, I don't think that this was correct. I think judging and trying to see as many cards as possible. I do see another double turbo energy, however, and another Judge here, but I do not see the Mew VMAX, which I had in my previous hand before my opponent's Judge. So I'm going to attach this double turbo here to my other benched Mew. I can play Switch Cart as well, just to thin that out of my hand. That's another switching card that I did not necessarily want to burn. And here we go. Genesect for 2 more. Lost Vacuum and Roxanne. 2 cards that I cannot play. There are no cards to even get rid of with the Lost Vacuum. Even if I had another Genesect in play, I would not even be able to use it. So this feels really bad. I retreat into the Oricorio, because if my opponent is going to take a prize, I want it to be my 1 prizer. And I whiff the knockout. I whiff the attack. So we are just having a rough time, the 2 of us here. And that is just the way that Mew draws sometimes. It's a little unfortunate that the loss of Quick Pull was just so devastating to this deck and its consistency. I'm going to really have to look at those Mew VMAX lists that made day 2 to see exactly how they're playing it, because they've got to be consistent if they all stack those top tables like that. So he is going to look through his deck here. He's going to play this Hisuian Heavy Ball. Look through his prize cards if he wants to take one of those or just fail it. So he has full knowledge of his prizes. Looks like there is a double turbo in there. Makes sense as to why he failed to find one on the first turn. And he still needs one this turn. So we're going to Cram-O-Matic. We're going to hit a Tails. Big fail there. Does have the double turbo this time, but now he has to move his Genesect out of the active. So I'm just hoping he does not have a Switch or an Escape Rope. Luckily, out of the 2, he does get the Switch. If he had Escape Rope, I would be feeling really upset because I would have to feed him my double colorless Mew. Double turbo-less, I guess is the more correct term. So Chris ends up going ahead 1 prize card. I'm able to bench the Genesect that I do have in my hand. have double battle VIP pass, but nothing to really do with them. So I'm just going to judge here. Both players are going to shuffle their hands into their deck and draw a fresh new 4 cards. So I'm happy to put those battle VIP passes back into the deck. Hopefully I don't redraw them, or if I do, there's a Cram-O-Matic to go with it. It looks like I do get a power tablet, as well as an echoing horn I can't play. The escape rope I can, but I don't think I really want to do that. So I'm going to draw 2 with my first Genesect, and I draw Battle VIP Pass and Roxanne. That is the second time I drew a Roxanne off of a Genesect that is completely dead. I wanted to save this power tablet, but I think I might play it. We are going to go for the escape rope just because I want to thin another card out of my hand. I'm really, really looking for the Mew VMAX. I still need it. I have not seen it yet. I put the power tablet in my discard sideways just to show that that's been used this turn. Draw 2 more cards, and yet again, just whiffing the Mew VMAX. So I attach, the choice belt there to my second Mew V, and I can Genesect for 1 more card. I need to hit the Mew VMAX, and it's a Cram-O-Matic. I Cram-O-Matic away the Battle VIP Pass. I need this to be heads. I'm like, this is like the 6th coin flip of the game. Is it going to be a heads? And it is. We finally, or 5th or something. They were all in a stack right in the middle of the deck, which is hilarious. So I pull the 1 out. I evolve my active right here. And we are finally going to be able to attack this game. Finally. So, still just an attack for 190 into another Mew VMAX. Doesn't feel very good. You'd rather just, like, knock out Genesect, and win the game that way if you're a Mew Mirror. But sometimes you can one-shot a Mew VMAX if you play enough power tablets and have the choice belt. I straighten up my discard pile here a little bit. But yeah, it's looking like I'm going to have to 2-shot a Mew VMAX in order to win this game. And then maybe one-shot another one. It's looking rough, honestly, for the both of us here, because now Chris is going to have to find a boss's orders in order to go ahead on prize cards. Or stay ahead on prize cards, rather. So he does get the double turbo, attaches it to his active that has the all the damage on it. He can Psychic Leap, too, to try to soften up my Mew VMAX. He has 2 Mews on his bench already, so that is feeling pretty decent. I think that is probably the best play for him. So he can try to soften up this Genesect a little bit. He's just stalling because he knows I've used all my switch cards. Just burning them in order to try to get into my Mew VMAX over the course of a couple turns. He does go for the Techno Blast instead. So, manages to stay ahead by going up 2 more prize cards. He just needs to one-shot another Mew VMAX in order to win the game, or at least 2-shot one. So the game is still in his favor, but his active Mew VMAX is about to go down. So I just need to attack it. I need 1 more Mew VMAX, and I go for the Roxanne. Now that he is at 3 prize cards remaining, he's activated the Roxanne that's been sitting dead in my hand. Over the course of a couple turns. I've found it a couple of times. So, that's really good for me. I am able to play the Roxanne before I use any of my Genesects. I can potentially find another bench Pokemon, so that my Genesects draw until I have 6 instead of 5. I can maybe burn some other cards that I could draw into. I am down 1 power tablet, so it's a lot less likely I am going to be able to knock out a Mew VMAX. Well, in 1 hit, at least. Like, from fresh. So, I do have a Nest Ball I can play here. I am looking for another Genesect, but my last Genesect is prized. So, I am going to have to go for yet another Mew. So, I have all 4 of my Mews in play. which is pretty wild. So I still have to play this game with only 2 Genesects. Again, not ideal to play with only 2 Genesects in the mirror. And I am at 3 cards in the Lost Zone. I am 1 card away from being able to attack with Cramorant, should I decide to ever put Cramorant in my deck. But that seems like it would be a bad decision. I do go for the copy of Max Miracle from my other Mew VMAX. I did take a second to try to count the damage, but Chris is like, yeah, the Max Miracle is the knockout. So, like, he read my mind. He knew exactly what I was going for. He goes ahead and goes for the Oricorio. He saw my Oricorio earlier in the game, and he's like, what, are you playing James Thiel's list? Because James Thiel did win our League Cup the previous day that we were in. I also apologize for the shaky cam. During round 4, I permanently fixed shaky cam. I found a way to do that. I didn't realize I could attach my like phone holder to my tripod in a different way that would prevent shaky cam from happening. So during round 4, we'll see that, or is it top 4? Either way, it's solved at some point. So Chris goes for the Psychic Leap. He's going to do 80 damage to my Mew VMAX again to soften it up. He knows that he can win just by knocking out this Mew VMAX, so he's going to take the safe route, allowing him to still Techno Blast the next turn. He also has the Oricorio in play to reduce the damage that I do, so it's even less likely that I'm going to be able to, or actually impossible that I'm going to be able to take a one-shot on this Mew VMAX. I'm going to be forced to retreat here or go for a Psychic Leap of my own. And if I go for the Psychic Leap, it's going to force one of these Genesects or Mews active that Chris can just take a knockout on and go down to 1 prize card remaining, meaning that a boss's orders from him will also just win the game, even without having to go through my Mew VMAX. So this feels like a really bad spot to be in. Chris at any point just needs a boss's orders. But the Path to the Peak is in play from Chris. He is making it so that I cannot draw too many cards. But at some point, I am thinking really hard. You can't see my head, but I'm like this right now. So I'm thinking really hard about this, and I'm like, the best course of action is to just retreat. And Chris only has like a couple cards in hand. I have the Lost Vacuum to remove the Path to the Peak, but I leave it in play and go for the Techno Blast. So I know that if he can't get rid of his own Path to the Peak, that it's going to stay in play and he's not going to be able to draw any cards. But he does. He has the Lost Vacuum, of course. And I told him it's 20 less because of your Oricorio. Remember that? And he's like, oh yeah. Not that that damage is really going to matter here. He attaches the Cleansing Gloves, which remind me, I still need to look through my boxes and find. You guys don't have to remind me. I have to remind myself. I have to find it in the next half hour before I leave to go to this free tournament. Oh, 4 cards in the Lost Zone. I can attack with Cramorant now. I think Chris can too. I think he's at 4 or 5. So we're going to see an attach of the Double Turbo to this benched Mew as well. This is a really odd spot to be in. Chris just needs the boss's orders, really, to win the game. Boss's orders and a Mew VMAX in order to win the game. But unfortunately, does not have either of those. Goes for the Roxanne instead. He's hoping to Roxanne me to 2 and find another Path to the Peak. The likelihood that one of us is going to put Path to the Peak in play is a lot more reduced because we've already both gone through a couple of those each. Or have I only gone through 1? I might still have 2 in my deck. I think I did prize 1 if I'm remembering correctly, but I could be wrong. And Chris knows that he cannot Techno Blast with his active this turn, and he does miss the Mew VMAX, it looks like. So he is going to retreat into the Oricorio. Or he's thinking about it, at least, because he wants me to not be able to take a big knockout this turn. So he is going to feed the Oricorio. It is the least valuable Pokemon that he has in play. Puts the Path to the Peak down, does have it. I did have, I think, double Lost Vacuum. I had 1 in hand and took 1 off my prizes. I'm just playing the heavy ball just to see my prize cards here. I knew that there was a Genesect in here. My last two remaining prize cards are the Nest Ball and the Judge. I did unfortunately draw Path to the Peak for turn. But since I max Miracled last turn, I can actually max Miracle again this turn with the Mew VMAX and take the knockout for an exact 90 damage. Because I'm reducing myself by 20. It's 130 minus 20 for the double turbo, minus 20 for the Oricorio is 90. So Chris goes ahead, puts my prizes out for me. Thank you. I evolve into yet another Mew VMAX because why not? I'll still always have a Mew V available for the Psychic Leap. And I'm thinking about whether or not I want to Psychic Leap with my benched Mew, or if I want to max Miracle with my active. And this is a really hard decision, honestly, and I'm taking way too much time to think of it, but... So here we go. I'm going to, looks like Psychic Leap, leave the Oricorio active, because it will not knock it out, it only does 50. So I'm forcing Chris to be able to move that while also removing the 80 damage off of the Mew, while still leaving two Mew VMAXs in play. And I'm just checking his discard pile to see how many power tablets he's used so far. See, there's 1, 2, only 2. So there are 2 left. So I know I need to Psychic Leap to make sure that I don't get knocked out. And yeah, Chris is like, that's knockout, right? But no, I only do 30 damage with Psychic Leap. And I put up my other Mew VMAX that has the double turbo energy on it. I think I could have put up the one that doesn't have anything attached to it. I think that would have been more correct in hindsight. I don't even think I thought of it during this day when this happened. That I should have done it the other way. But Chris could always just escape rope to move the Oricorio. I forgot to check how many switching options he's used, but I believe he's out of all of them. He does just go ahead and pass. So now we're in a top deck war. I redraw the Mew V, and at this point, I do decide that if I spend any more time, Chris's deck is really small, so he's probably going to have a boss's orders as long as it's not prized. So I do have to take the knockout on this Oricorio and increase my odds of getting to that boss's orders, even though I know that I'm probably just going to pull like Genesect or Nest Ball or Judge off of these prize cards, as those are the 3 that are remaining. I didn't even look at my card I took at this point, I don't believe, but it is Genesect. I just had a feeling that I knew that it was going to be this way. But again, this is a best of 1 League Cup, so the top cut will be best of 3, but we're not there yet. We do see a boss's orders from Chris. Because I healed that Mew VMAX, Chris is now going to have to go through a Genesect and 1 more Pokemon. So I don't know if Chris is going to have enough boss's orders to be able to get that far. And goes for the Psychic Leap. He knows for a fact that I'm out of switching cards, so he knows that he needs to be able to lock this Genesect active, and he's healing that damage off of his Mew VMAX so that I can't knock it out. And again, this becomes a very, very interesting game at this point. It's just both of us, both at the beginning and the end of the game, just keep whiffing, and this Path to the Peak is putting in work on both sides. So I have my own Path to the Peak, of course. I do have a power tablet that I could burn at some point, but I'm just holding it now. And Chris does Judge, so in hindsight, maybe I should have played the power tablet. But I figure at some point, you know, if he goes Mew VMAX, maybe I can damage it with like a Psychic Leap and then use the power tablet after to take the knockout. So I'm not sure if saving the power tablet there was correct or not. I do redraw into it. I think I did have at least 2 left in deck. But I also draw the Lost Vacuum, so Chris's Judge is really helping me out here. So Chris is deciding whether or not he wants to knock out my Genesect and take those prize cards, or if he wants to hit, or I guess like just Psychic Leap and wait more turns. But I don't think there's any bosses left for Chris. I think one of them might be prized, or the other one's still in his deck, like super deep down. So he does go for the knockout. He takes 2 prize cards, goes down to 1 prize card remaining. I'm going to try to force him to go through this Mew VMAX in order to take the game. But I have the Lost Vacuum and 2 Ultra Balls, so I can completely thin my hand out. I only have the 1 Genesect left, but I do know that I took the Genesect off my prize cards in the last turn, so that was judged back into the deck. I can grab that Genesect, so it means that I should have taken it off the Heavy Ball, but I didn't. Because then there would have been greater odds of having the Genesect available to me. Because what if I picked the wrong prize card? But just so happens I picked the right prize card because Chris cut me into that. I'm able to... And Chris literally is about to cut and he says, nah, you decide your own fate. That is, quote, what he said. So I have a Genesect for 6. And then I still have a second Genesect to use. And all that I need is the boss's orders. I do have it in deck, and there it is, the 3rd boss's orders that I play. It is able to bring up a Genesect or a Mew, and Chris is like, yeah, I had another... like, he never saw that last boss's orders. He could have seen that in the previous turn. He could have brought the Mew VMAX up and hit that. I think might have been better. It's such a weird outcome, but I ended up being able to take that game, so... That was a very rough match to play, I will have to say, but it was very interesting. Unfortunately, I did misplay against Tori. I could have quad power tableted and boss's orders in the next round in order to take the game, but I decided not to do that, and then he Sky Seal Stone for 4 prize cards, and then won that. And then I barely lost to a 6 prize turn from Alan playing Arceus. Umbreon, he managed to hit me for 300 with Umbreon VMAX just because I had the Oricorio in play. I lived, but I didn't have an opportunity to Psychic Leap because I had the Power Tablet option to be able to one-shot his Umbreon VMAX, so I went for that instead of Psychic Leap. And because of that, he was able to go Alakazam, move 1 damage counter from one of my Pokemon to my Mew VMAX, take 3 prize cards, grab the Drapion off his prize cards, bench it, attach for a turn, retreat, and then go into the Drapion and take 3 prize cards and manage to take 6 prize cards in 1 turn. And then I got the bye the last round, so this is the only round I won. It feels pretty bad. But yeah, guys, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe and all that good stuff up above. Check that description box down below for links to the Discord and all the socials and stuff like that. And we will see you guys next time.